Hey everybody, this is Sandra, the Desert Homesteader. Today is one of those ucky days here on the homestead. There is yet another windstorm and sandstorm raging outside. So on days like today, can't do anything outside. The animals won't come out of their pens. You can't do anything but hope that the garden will survive. So I'm doing one of the things that I love to do, which is going through my reference materials. And I thought I'd put a challenge out there to everyone to share what their 5 favorite reference books and or magazines are. I fully believe that nobody can ever have too much information on gardening or homestead life, cooking, anything like that. And I wanted to share with you my top 5. I've got a lot more than 5 out here right now, but the books and magazines that I have a hard time living without because I'm always referring to them. So number 1 for me would be Mother Earth News. I've been a subscriber to Mother Earth News for more years than I can even remember, quite honestly, and I keep all of them and I refer back to them. I pour through them all the time. Some people get upset with Mother Earth News because they think it's one side or the other, but I find it very well-rounded and there's so much good information in there. It doesn't matter what your political views are, the information is good, period. I can't tell you how many projects that I've done because of this periodical, and so yeah, that's my number 1. Okay, my second most important reference book or material is The Backyard Homestead. Now, I love this book because it has a little bit of everything in it. And if you forget something, it's easy to go back to, but it gives you hope when you don't have a huge place. This was really important to me when I lived in Modesto because we lived on a 1/7 of an acre, and this book really helped me. I was able to grow so much food. It was outrageous, and this book was a big part of why. Okay, here we go with Western Gardener. This is a book that was in my house from the time I can remember. My dad always had an updated copy. Mine is a few years old. I probably should get an updated copy of it, but if you have never gone into the Western Gardener before, this is an amazing piece of reference here. It has pretty much any plant you can imagine in it, and it has everything from different cultivars to zones that they're good for, care instructions, everything you can believe. This is just an amazing book, and I'm always referring back to it when I run into a little bit of a problem with something. So that is number 3. Number 4, I have to admit, I'm always using the Old Farmer's Almanac because the planting tables in that are still probably the most reliable I've ever had now. They're pretty reliable on their extended weather forecast too, but the planting tables alone are enough to make this a really valuable resource. Number 5 for me is not really something that I think a lot of people would be interested in. The reason why this one is important to me, it's the California Rare Fruit Growers magazine. And I don't have anything newer than about a decade ago from this. And that is because I inherited these from my dad when he was dying of cancer. He made sure that the things that were the most important to him went to the people that he wanted them to go to. That way nobody had any questions after he passed away. And his collection of the California Rare Fruit Growers magazine was his most valued possession, and he wanted it to go to me. And it does have, he spent hours and hours and hours meticulously cataloging every article in every magazine he had. And I do go back and refer to it so many times, but this is one of those nostalgia things, probably more than anything, especially since it's so out of date. But those are my top 5. Now I have a few runners up. There's a book called Fresh Food from Small Spaces. Now this book really doesn't do me much good here because I've got almost 2.5 acres, and I wouldn't really consider that a small space. But whenever I get discouraged and I feel like that there's nothing else I can do, I refer back to this book because it is, as it says on the front, the Square Inch Gardener's Guide to Year-Round Growing, Fermenting, and Sprouting. And it really does encourage people with no room at all to grow their own food. It's written a little bit from a conspiracy theorist standpoint, so if you're afraid of that, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's got so much good information that that's one of my runners up, excuse me. And I also have field guides that I refer to all the time, specifically this Mojave Desert Wildflowers book. I refer to that all the time. Anyways, those are some of my runners up. So I would love to see from some other people what their top 5 reference materials are. I look forward to seeing that. Have a beautiful day. See you next time.